Don't call me your princess, because this isn't a fairy tale, and I most certainly do not need rescuing. I refuse to be used to inflate your ego to the status of a hero. You're not my saviour, my metaphorical knight in shining armour. Don't kid yourself. You can't rewrite history and tell me that you miss me. Your shield is battered and bent, but I'm the one that's left bruised. The pretence of your defence can't turn back time to when I was yours and when you were mine.
Okay, so I'm here in the studio with Bethany Rose.
Hi.
Hello, a poet from Leeds.
Yeah, from Leeds.
Okay, and you're pretty new to sort of performing your poetry.
I am, yeah. I've been performing for like three to 6 months. I've been performing my stuff.
Mm-hmm. But writing
for about 10 years.
Yeah. So how did you first get started writing poetry?
I've just always written. I was the kid at school that would sit under trees and write poetry.
Oh.
But my granddad was a poet, and he went to poetry groups, and then we used to email poems to each other.
Yeah. And so those poetry groups. So how far back was that?
I'm 24, and he'd gone to them as long as I knew.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of friends there, so that was sort of his thing.
Yeah. And was that in Leeds?
That was in Leeds as well.
So historically, has there been quite a strong kind of performing poetry type?
No, not really. It's quite hard to find spoken word and poetry gigs. I think this was just like a group that my granddad went to.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so those poems then, you started writing by exchanging those emails, but then have carried on.
Yeah, definitely.
And so what sort of made you want to carry on?
Well, I lost my granddad nearly 2 years ago, and then sort of went, I need to keep writing and performing for the both of us.
Yeah.
Like we were very close, and now I'm writing a book and
wow.
trying to get that published.
So what's the book?
It's called Unanswered Silences and Pedantic Panics.
Right.
And it's sort of spoken word, mental health, but some of it's burlesque poetry.
Burlesque poetry. Okay, I'm struggling to imagine what that would mean.
It's not very radio appropriate poetry.
Right. Okay. Filth.
Yes, but not like sleazy.
Yeah. Just explicit sort of language and.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of. Mm-hmm. So a bit racy then. And what's the title of that again?
The book is called Unanswered Silences and Pedantic Panics.
So we should be watching this space for that.
I hope so. I don't have a publisher yet.
Okay, we'll let listeners
but
know.
I'm working on it.
And so, performance-wise, you said 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
But that's performing poetry, is that
That's
right? Performing
poetry.
So what was your in before that?
Well, when my granddad's poetry was funny, so I started reading his funny poetry when he died. At open mic night, I did one. There's a comedy night in Leeds called The Verve. I used to read there, and then I enjoyed it to a point where I was like, I need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But I had a bit of an in because it wasn't my material. If it wasn't funny, it wasn't on me. And then I did a comedy course because I went, I'm enjoying this.
Was that with Paul Silky White?
That was with Paul Silky White. Everyone knows Silky.
Yeah, we've mentioned him on the show at least once.
Did his course, kept doing my comedy, started writing my poetry more, got more and more into my poetry, and now I'm doing that more than I'm doing my comedy.
And so the first poetry night you went to, did that feel like a kind of quantum leap from doing comedy and doing somebody else's words to? Did you feel much more exposed or?
Very, very exposed. Dear high school bullies, I don't need you. I don't need you to tell me that I should die when I'm already struggling to find a reason why I have any right to live. Dear high school bullies, I don't need you. I don't need to tell me that the sight of my face gives you a fright, that I make you sick. Dear high school bullies, I don't need you. I don't need you to tell me that I'm a freak, that I should starve, that I shouldn't eat, and that maybe I'd be less ugly. Dear high school bullies, I don't need you. I don't need you to hate everything about me where there's nothing I see in the mirror that I'm comfortable with anyway. Dear high school bullies, I don't need you. I don't need you to throw nettles in my face and tell me that I'm a disgrace, because you're not telling me I did anything that I don't already know. Dear high school bullies, thank you. Thank you for teaching me that I never needed you. For teaching me that the most important thing of all is that I am fierce, I am enough, and that you can push me, but I will not fall. The first big night I did was the Cabaret of an Arts Festival, and it was, all the performers were doing mental health style poetry, so I did some mental health stuff. It was very, very exposing, and I felt very, very vulnerable, but I loved it, and I loved holding the room.
Yeah. Did you get much feedback sort of afterwards as well?
Yeah, and I was crying a bit because it was so raw and amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got some really, really nice feedback.
Yeah. Fab.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those nice things. There's a night called Verse Matters in Sheffield. I don't know if you've been.
I don't know it, but it's
street.
good to know.
Yeah, and that's definitely that kind of thing where people will say some quite raw stuff, but you're part of the room feels like it's a community where people are appreciating what's happening.
Having that outlet for self-expression, I think, is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Mental illness is a battle I never agreed to fight. A silent war where the enemy tactic is to try convince you that the war isn't happening at all. But I've seen the bodies, I've seen the blood, I've fought the battleground, and I've bandaged the bullet wounds. And after all, I'm surviving. I promise I will receive my medal.
And so, are you addicted now? Are you on the performance poetry kick?
Yeah, I'm sort of on the train with it.
Yeah.
I love it. And then I've got an Instagram page where I put all of my work up and trying to get that out there and get gigs from that.
Mm-hmm. And what's the sort of?
It's at Beth Rose Writes.
Okay,
yeah, that's fine. Don't worry.
So you mentioned sort of mental health writing.
Yeah.
So what sort of issues are you kind of covering and exploring?
I just sort of discuss self-harm in it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of don't let whatever's going in your head consume you. There are like healthy ways of getting it out there, writing being one of them, and sort of and sort of look after yourself, and self-care is covered quite a bit in my work as well.
Yeah, and we definitely recommend writing as an outlet on this show. So
yeah, anything creative.
Write out the demons and then send them to us, and we'll air them.
Yeah.
or hide them. Just put them in a drawer.
Yeah. This is sort of another love poem. Pen and paper, a mug of sweet tea. Reminisce about memories and good intentions. Let's take note. Let's learn. Let's make something as beautiful as the shadows of our souls dancing in candlelight. We are as stars in a cloud-clear night, exposed to the skies, whilst the world below make wishes, drowning in everlasting first kisses. You are my sunrise in a groundhog day of sunsets. You are my dawn in a world of dusks. My light, my salvation, and my truth. You make my world make sense, unscramble the scrabbles, and uncross the crosswords. And yet, this was never our intention. You never wanted sweet tea. You just needed strong coffee. I desperately and longingly need you, but you no longer have a need for me. As the sun sets late at night, I write, whilst those around me, with their master's degrees and their PhDs, create memories and families. They have plans to travel to faraway lands, stories to tell their future child, whilst my mind, my thoughts run wild. And so I sit in my candle-lit corner of the world, and I write. I let my thoughts unfurl through the disguise of poetry. I arrange letters in patterns to try and make sense of the world I see, a world which was never meant for me. So whilst you're on your adventures, I'll be on mine, whilst I dance, whilst I write, and when I bid you good night. And then this is one sort of about my grandparents, who I would say they're one of my biggest influences on my writing. And I wrote this on what would have been their 65th wedding anniversary. The dust may have settled, but the love that you left behind remains unaltered. You just reside in our minds and in our hearts, in afternoon teas and in walks in the park. 65 years ago today you were wed, true soulmates, nothing else could be said. For better or worse, till death do us part, the 10 days you lived without each other were a pure broken heart. 63 years you lived together, through sunshines, rainstorms, all and every kind of weather. 23,151 days of love and devotion, trips to America and cruises on oceans, a quick flit to Bridlington and back the next day, and there's nothing else I can say. Caravan trips and hundreds of journeys to the coasts, breakfast and egg on chips and cheese on toast, thousands of memories and so much that you taught her. It was worth coming home to meet your only granddaughter. Grandma, Grandpa, I miss you every day. Your singing and dancing was a ludicrous display. So today I'm raising a glass to my wonderful grandparents, to Harold and to Faye.
Super. Yeah.
So yeah.
Happy?
Happy.
Grand. Okay, I'll stop that there. Is there anything else you would like me to ask you in the interview or anything like that?
No, not that I can think of.
No other links to anything. We've done your Instagram.
Yeah, it's mainly Instagram that I promote my stuff on. And you can find details of all like my future events and anything that I'm doing and where I'm at on there as well.